Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. With all this exciting news about the big trades that have been going on in the past couple of days, it's almost hard to remember that the draft is coming up tomorrow. So, in advance of that draft, I just want to talk about a couple of players that I would consider my favorite players in the draft. By that, I mean guys that I like significantly more than I would say the consensus probably does. I decided to leave out any guys that are considered in the top five by the general consensus because obviously it's kind of hard to like a guy better than the average person if they are considered top five. So we're really starting with guys that are considered in like the late lottery range and back. However, before I start talking about these guys, I just want to remind you to leave a like and subscribe. Been appreciating all the support I've been getting on the videos recently, and I hope to see that continue. Without further ado, let's get into this video and talk about my favorite players in the 2020 draft class. My seventh favorite guy in the class is Ty-Shon Alexander from Creighton. This guy has a chance to be a really, really good 3-and-D point guard. He's really, really good on the ball. He has good lateral quickness. He plays really hard on the defensive end, has a good motor, just keeps going, always giving his best effort. Can also be a defensive playmaker by getting his hands in passing lanes and swatting away careless dribbles. He is, like I said before, laterally quick, which allows him to keep guys in front, even with these risks that he takes in going for steals. I loved watching him play at Creighton because he's a really good catch and shoot, or a very good pull-up three-point shooter, and he also can shoot pretty well off the catch and shoot. That's really his best piece on offense is his shooting ability. He also is a bit of a solid shot creator as he can attack closeouts and create some dribble penetration off his secondary action and either create an open look for himself in the in-between game or create a look for one of his teammates from the three-point line. Like I said before, 3-and-D point guard is really the type of player that you're wanting to get in Ty-Shon Alexander, and I think that he can really play that role well. And if I had a draft pick anywhere from the late 30s to the mid 40s, he would be a guy I would really strongly consider taking. My sixth favorite guy in this draft is Desmond Bane, a wing from TCU. Bane, once again, is a really, really good shooter. I think a lot of people are actually pretty high on Desmond Bane, and a lot of people are thinking of him as a top 25 guy in this class. But I actually take it a bit further, and I like him in the top 18. I think that his ability as a shooter, as well as a guy who can play pretty well defensively despite not having the best length, his wingspan, I think he has a negative wingspan, so his wingspan is shorter than his height is, which is not a great sign, but I think that he plays really hard on defense, is solid laterally, and can move his feet and keep guys in front, and he's strong enough that he has an ability to play solid on the defensive end of the floor, but really the reason why I like Desmond Bane so much is his ability as a sharpshooter. I mean, he can just really, really shoot. People give Aaron Nesmith the J.J. Redick comparison all the time, but I think that Bane actually profiles as someone closer to Redick than anyone in this draft. He just has such a good feel for the game on the offensive end. He can find open spots for himself. He's really good at relocating himself where he passes the ball, runs around, finds the open areas of the floor and gets open and gets the ball back and gets an open look from the three-point line. He was the best shooter, or one of the best shooters in college basketball this past season. By the numbers, I think he actually was the best, shot the highest percentage. Really good off the catch and shoot. He's also developed a game where he can attack the closeouts, similar to something Alexander can do, where he catches on the three-point line and gets around his guy and either creates a look for himself or creates a look for one of his teammates on the perimeter. He also is a pretty underrated passer, and I think that he has a chance to be a secondary or tertiary playmaker at the next level. So Desmond Bane is a guy that I really like. And once again, if I had a pick in the 15 to 20 range, that's where I would really, really start considering him. My fifth favorite guy in this class is Marcus Howard from Marquette. As I'm sure some of you know, I'm a big Milwaukee Bucks fan, and I'm from the state of Wisconsin, so I am a bit of a homer towards Marquette, but I actually really think that Marcus Howard can be a good NBA player, and after watching him for 4 years at Marquette, I just think that his shooting is so incredible that even though he is a smaller guy, he still deserves to get at least a bit of a run at the next level. He has such excellent shot mobility as he just hits these impossible shots with a hand in his face. This little guy, you'd think his shot would get blocked, but he has such a quick release and can get his shot off from anywhere on the court. Has limitless range like a Trae Young or a Steph Curry. Can shoot it from the logo. He can shoot the ball off of movement, like we saw with Steph Curry. They pretty much run him off. They ran him at Marquette off of screens every offensive possession, and he was able to get some really good looks and even some not so good looks, and he would always be a threat to knock him down. He would always be drawing the best matchup from the defensive team, and he still averaged almost 30 points per game in college and shot the ball at a remarkable mark in terms of efficiency. He also gets to the line quite a bit, shoots a ton of free throws, is really good at drawing contact, and can actually finish through contact quite a bit. It felt like every game he had 3-and-1s watching Marquette this past season, so really just an exciting guy to watch. I think he has a chance to be an explosive bench player, and I would start looking at him in the early 40s with a second-round pick due to his ability to hit contested shots off of the bounce, off of the run, and off a catch and shoot as well. My fourth favorite player in this class is Malachi Flynn. Flynn is another guy similar to Bane that I view as a top 20 player in this class, and I think that he is going to translate really well to the NBA and has a chance to be a starter at some point in his career. He's got a great feel for the game. That's probably his best trait as a basketball player. He just knows how to ball. He, on offense, always makes the right decision, and on defense, he plays very smart. Great team defender. Also is very laterally quick, so he can play some solid defense due to that skill. He's really good defensively at the point of attack and can be a solid defensive playmaker, but doesn't take unnecessary risks either, which lends to his great feel for the game, which I've already talked about. He's really good at creating shots for himself as well as for teammates. You can't go underneath screens when you're guarding him because he has a really nice shot off of the bounce. His pull-up game is fantastic. He's got some good mid-range stuff too. He's got a beautiful floater that he shoots at a very high efficiency level, and he also has a nice mid-range jumper that he can shoot off of the bounce. Overall, I think his ability to create shots for his teammates, create shots for himself, shoot the ball at a high level, and play some really good defense makes Malachi Flynn worthy of a top 20 pick in this draft, and that's why he's my fourth favorite player in this draft. At number 3, we have Sam Merrill from Utah State. I think you might be noticing a trend of the kind of players I like. I really like point guards that can shoot the ball. Tyshawn Alexander, Marcus Howard, Malachi Flynn, Sam Merrill. I've got a bit of an archetype that I really enjoy watching play, and Merrill was one of my favorites this past year in college basketball. The biggest play I can remember from him was when he hit that dagger against San Diego State in the Mountain West Conference championship game. That was just such a oh my gosh, that was such a big shot. And so he's clearly got a clutch gene to him. He's really tall for a point guard, which means that he could have some defensive versatility. He's not a very good athlete, so I don't think that he'll be able to guard a lot of 2s and 3s that do have that athleticism advantage on him, but he plays hard on defense. He took on some challenging matchups. He actually guarded Malachi Flynn in that Mountain West Conference championship game. It's not a coincidence that I have both of those two guys on this list because I really enjoyed that game, and I just got a real nice taste of how good I think those two point guards are. So both of them, I believe, will translate to the NBA level. I think Merrill has a chance to be a nice gunner off the bench who can really shoot it. His shot is super quick, similar to Marcus Howard in that way. I think that he's the single best shooter in this draft. He can shoot off dribble handoffs. He can shoot off screens. He can shoot off the dribble. He can shoot off the catch. He's super smart. He's a good playmaker for his teammates, and he plays hard on defense. Really, this guy's going to be a shooter, similar to J.J. Redick in that vein, and I really think that he can get to a similar level of as J.J. as a shooter. I could see him shooting in the mid 40% range, and for that reason, I would certainly be willing to bet a pick in the early 30s, maybe even the end of the first round on Sam Merrill due to his ability to space the floor. My second favorite player in this draft is Zeke Nnaji, a big man from Arizona. Nnaji plays incredibly hard. He has a great motor, and that's really what makes him so intriguing to me. I could see him being a Montrezl Harrell type player, but I believe that he can shoot the ball better than Harrell, and he's also has potential to be better on defense than Harrell. Right now, he struggles on that end of the floor, but if he can use his athleticism and allow that to translate to defense, he can be a really good rim protector. I already think that he's going to be able to switch out and be a versatile guy who can guard on the perimeter quite a bit, and those type of big men are very valuable in today's NBA, as we have seen with guys like Bam Adebayo. So if Nnaji can translate into that kind of switchable defender in a switch-heavy scheme similar to what the Miami Heat or Boston Celtics have run, I think that Nnaji could be a very useful player. He's very fast, so he can run the break, and he's a pretty good finisher. He has really great touch around the rim, and he's got a nice hook shot that he can finish at a high rate. Like I said, he's super strong, which allows him to be a really good rebounder. He might look skinny, but he uses that frame for everything it has, and he's actually packed a lot of muscle onto it, and that allows him to be so talented in the rebounding area as well as finishing in the paint, which are two things I've already talked about. But if he can develop his three-point shot, which I actually am a pretty big believer in, I think that at some point he'll be able to shoot it because he's a really good free throw shooter at this point, shoots in the high 70s from the line, which is really good for a big man. So I think at some point that shooting is going to translate to the three-point line, and when it does, I'm really excited for this guy because I think he can be a very intriguing 3-and-D big that can be very versatile on the defensive end of the floor, and on offense is a good finisher, plays with a lot of energy, and hopefully can shoot the ball. If he does all of these things, I think that he could be the steal of the draft. I believe in him as a top 25 guy in this class, and some people have him going in the mid-second round. So I think that he could be the single biggest steal of this entire draft, and I'm really excited to see what team takes him because there's a lot of teams in the latter half of the first round that I think could be excellent for his development. And I'm a big believer in this guy. He's my second favorite player in the whole draft, so I'm sure you could probably tell that based off of that, but he's not my favorite guy. My single favorite guy in this draft, if you've been watching these videos, you probably could guess it. It's Tyrese Maxey, a combo guard from Kentucky. This might sound crazy, and it probably is. It's like my craziest draft take, but I think that Tyrese Maxey is a top 5 guy in this draft. I know most people have him in like the 12 to 18 range, but I believe in him as being one of the 5 best guys in this entire draft. Hear me out, okay? I just don't understand why people are so low on Maxey. He has a really, really exciting game. He plays super hard. He's really strong, and that's going to allow him to be a brilliant defender at the point of attack on defense. He's a menace. He has the ability to take risks and go for steals and blocks, but he's quick enough and has the lateral quickness to recover from taking those risks and put himself in good positions on the defensive end. He's also a solid rebounder for his size due to his surplus amount of strength. I think that he'll be able to guard 1 through 3 on the defensive end due to that strength. He's got such a good frame, and although he isn't the longest, he has a 6'6" wingspan, which is solid. I still believe that he's going to be able to keep bigger guys such as, I don't know, your average 3 in the NBA in front of him. Like, I think he'll be able to guard like a Chris Middleton. Well, I don't know. Middleton might be able to shoot over him. But anyways, I'm a big believer in Maxey on the defensive end of the floor, and that's before we get into the offensive end, which is where he excites me the most. he's got a real knack for scoring, and I think that there's a chance that this guy can be a 20-point scorer in the NBA. He plays really hard on the offensive end, too. He's a super good finisher due to the amount of strength he has. He's able to finish through contact, gets to the line a lot, and is a pretty solid free throw shooter as well. He's got one of the better pull-up games in the entire draft this year. He's got a really nice feel for the game with his hesitation moves and stuff like that, in and out dribbles that are able to create space for him. Like I said, with that pull-up, it's super dangerous, and he knocks it down at a really high rate. His catch and shoot needs to improve because he has a pretty slow release on it, and it doesn't allow him to get the most shots up. But if he's able to fix that catch and shoot release with the addition of his great pull-up, I believe that he can be an above-average shooter from the three-point line, maybe sneaking into like a 38 to 40% three-point shooter. I think he's really good in the mid-range, similar to a guy like Marcus Howard or Malachi Flynn. He's got a really good floater game and can also shoot it off the bounce in the mid-range. He, like I said before, great defender, pretty good rebounder for his size. He's a smart team defender. I actually don't think I talked about that, but he makes good decisions in rotations and is a good help defender off of the ball. And on offense, like I said before, he can get to the line. He can shoot it. He can finish in the lane. The only thing he really needs to improve on there, in my opinion, is his playmaking. And if he can improve that playmaking, I think there's a chance that he can be a really, really, really good guard in the NBA. I think his ceiling is probably something like Donovan Mitchell. I think I could really see Maxey turning into that type of player. And as you can probably tell from my channel icon, I'm a big Donovan Mitchell fan, so it's probably no big surprise that the guy that I view as the most similar to Donovan Mitchell in this draft as one of my favorite players. So Tyrese Maxey, book him as one of the steals of the draft if he goes outside the top 10. If I were the Pistons at 7, the Knicks at 8, the Suns at, well, I guess the Suns just got Chris Paul, so probably not them. And then like the Celtics at 14, the Pelicans at 13, although they just got a bunch of point guards. Like, there's so many teams in that like 7 to 15 range that I would really, really consider taking Maxey if I were them. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know who your favorite players in this draft are. Who do you think is one of the more underrated players in this draft class? Let me know what you think of my list as well. Are there any guys that you disagree and think that they're overrated? Are there any guys that you agree with me and think that they are super underrated and you really like me too? Let me know. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all again very soon.